Hello and welcome. My name is Amy. I'm so glad to be here with me today. I'm really pumped about what I want to share with you because I feel so inspired by it. Let's just jump into it. I was reading a book that gave an analogy about manifesting and our energy and what we're attracting or pushing away from us. It was the best one that I personally have heard. And I don't even know if I've heard that many, but there was something about it that just really resonated with me. I have to share it with you because I really feel like it's going to help you so much as well. By the way, my name is Amy. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if this is your first time. One of the things I'm focused on right now, big time, is just my thoughts, how I'm attracting things, how I'm pushing things away, trusting the process. That's been a focus for a long time. I think it is for a lot of us, especially who are interested in spiritual growth. But it's like I've just circled back to it with a whole new perspective. And that's what it's about. It's all this cycle that we're always on and coming back to and learning in deeper ways. I love that. So in this book, the analogy is that when you go to a restaurant, you order your food, you tell the server what you want, the server goes away, and you trust at that point that your food is going to come out and it's going to come out the way that you want it to. And in between that time, you sit there and you have a conversation with the person you're with, or you're alone and you read a book, or you do whatever you're doing, but you're not sitting there necessarily worrying the whole time. Now, there are some people who might get up and go and talk to the server and make sure that they got their order correctly because they're a little bit worried about it or a little bit micromanaging and want to make sure that they didn't forget to say anything, that they said it right. This is an energy. There is an energy when you are trusting and you put your order in and you sit back and then you are present with what is in front of you and you know that food is coming. There is also an energy behind putting your order in and then being worried the whole time. And there are certainly spectrums and it depends on the day. But ultimately, having that trust that when you put out to the universe what it is you want, you are putting an order in. You are trusting that your spiritual team, the universe, whatever you reference it as, something bigger than you, is there to help you. They are helping. And you don't need to then be micromanaging and going up to the server every few minutes and saying, oh, how's it going? How's it going? Is it working? Do you guys know what you're doing? Of course they know what they're doing. They're the professionals. Something else that's given me a lot of insight of this for myself is when I first stopped drinking, I realized I had so much anxiety. I knew I had anxiety, but then I really felt my anxiety. I remember just being like, I just can't, this is too much for me. And having this moment of realizing I spend so much time thinking about the possible outcomes for all of these things, worrying about it, becoming anxious and stressed. And of all the millions of ways that I think about how it's going to play out, it never actually happens that way. So with that, it was like, why am I putting this much time into worrying and thinking when obviously there are other forces at play that are going to make it happen and unfold the way it's meant to unfold. And for me, I'm going to make it a lot worse by being in a space of worrying anyway. With this awareness, I started to be less and less worried. And it really helped me be able to detach from my anxious thoughts and feelings because I realized they weren't even a part of the actual outcome. I used to think they were. I used to think like without the worry, these things weren't going to happen. And I wasn't thinking about that actively, but I realized as I started to detach from this that I almost felt like I was letting go of something in a really negative way. Like I needed to have some kind of control over it. I needed to have my hand in the pot a little bit, or how would it all work out? But when you realize that it's all happening anyway, it's all working out anyway, that is what can give you relief to realize that you can just focus on what is right in front of you, what is present, and the other things are going to come to you. This also leads into what you're requesting. When you put something out into the universe, it is very easy to get it. But holding on to it is a different thing. If you are requesting love, but you're not very loving, you're not going to be able to hold on to it because literally it has to be an energetic match. The frequencies have to be able to connect to each other. Now, think about magnets that won't actually touch and you cannot get them together. That is what is happening when you have a difference in the energy, the frequency. If you are calling out a person who is really self-aware and confident, but you're not that confident, or you're not really working on becoming more confident or becoming aware of why you're not going to hold on to someone who is confident. If you are looking for authenticity, someone who is honest, but you are not emanating those things within yourself, you are not going to be able to hold on to it. This is why they say things come to you when you're not looking for them, because you're so present with yourself and becoming more aware of yourself that you are going to start attracting that. If you are actively looking and seeking and wishing or longing for something that you don't have, that is the energy, that is the frequency you're putting out. And so you are not going to be able to get it, or it's going to come and leave very quickly, because you are not putting the energy out that you are in a place to have it, to hold it, to keep it. When we put out a request to the universe, what we need to do in that in-between time is be as present as we can and be aware of what our thoughts are. Because our thoughts and our beliefs are what goes on in between our requests. If your thoughts are in a place of lack or needing, or that you don't have something, then you're not going to be able to have it. If your beliefs are that you are not worthy, you are not enough, you are not whatever, that is not going to serve you. You need to become aware of those thoughts and realize you have control over your thoughts, even though until you're aware of that, your thoughts generally have control over you. Everything that you are doing is a choice. Even if you don't realize it's a choice. Every thought is a choice. Every judgment is a choice. And as you start to become in acceptance of that, you can make different choices. You cannot be judgmental of a certain situation. You don't have to be so insecure about something when you learn that a lot of times those insecurities are learned from watching how others do things and respond to things, and not realizing that you can say, oh, but that's not resonating with me. That's not what my truth is. That's what's so beautiful. So in the time of you declaring what it is you want and receiving, it's about becoming as present as possible and recognizing what the energy is that you're putting out, what your thoughts are, what your beliefs are. As you become more aware, their alignment gets higher and higher, and your experience continues to expand. Something else to be super mindful of, and I can go into a whole other video on this, many videos, hours of conversation, is that you also have to let go of blaming others for why you have certain thoughts, or having excuses for why certain things aren't going to happen for you. Because as long as you are blaming things outside of you and making excuses for why you can't do something or aren't fill in the blank, then it's not going to happen. That's conditioning. Those are thoughts and beliefs that have been created based on the experiences you've had, and not having awareness to the fact that those don't have to be yours. Just set the intention to become aware of this. The awareness is the first step. Where are you blaming others? Where are you making excuses for why you are or aren't doing certain things? And not knowing how to do something is certainly not a valid excuse, because there is so much knowledge and you don't need to know everything. You just need to say, okay, what is my first step? What is the next thing I need to know? What is the next thing I need to do? You have to be willing to do that. I talk a lot about these different topics and tuning into what is expanding you, following that. And when you start to let go of your excuses and your blaming, you take on more responsibility for yourself and the reality of your life and what your thoughts are and what your beliefs are. And the more you take responsibility for that, the more you're standing in your power and your empowerment. And the more you do that for yourself, other people witness it and it inspires them to do it as well. One of the most powerful things I've learned from my lifetime of serious growth, but especially the last 10 years, is that people who have been most inspired by me are inspired by witnessing my behavior It's not because I'm telling them what I think should be done, even though I'm kind of doing that right now. But I hope you know what I mean. I'm not going to family and to the people who are bothering me that I used to make excuses about. I am not doing that anymore. And in fact, I stopped even having the resentments toward people, which led me to becoming more responsible for myself and inspiring people who I once maybe even had friction with. I know that it sounds like I'm saying a lot, but what's beautiful about this is that you don't need to look at every single little thing as an area you need to improve. Because what happens is, just like you inspire the people around you, it is like you inspire the aspects of yourself. You are a whole being. So when you start to improve in one area and expand and become more aligned with yourself, these other areas will naturally start to do that as well. And you don't need to necessarily look at every single part and put effort into every single part. In fact, it's very much about tuning in and allowing yourself to see what really resonates with you and not always putting so much of the effort into it, but simply allowing yourself to find that peace and alignment within you. If you do that, you don't have to look at all these outside things and start fixing them, because it's not those things that are going to help you be more aligned and be able to manifest in a better way and be able to sit through that order at the restaurant with more peace. You're going to find that peace by just going inward in the first place, by figuring out what is your alignment. Who are you when you remove those things? Who are you when you're not affected by the thoughts and opinions of others? Who are you when you trust that there is a great big universe that loves you very much and is helping guide you? Who are you when you are able to sit in presence in between declaring what it is you want and receiving it? I hope that a part of this inspired you as much as it did me. I love that we have this space. Thank you so much for being here with me. And truly, I am just so grateful for you and for us to be able to share this space together. And I can't wait to chat with you next time. Bye.